time to do some sketchy shit. Doo-dah, doo-dah, hope I get away with it. Oh, da doo-dah day.
Hi, folks. Welcome to Last Man Standing. I am Dan Hallfield. I'm hoping a few other people will be with me tonight. Richie is supposed to show up fairly soon. He's spending time with his wife. Dawn may show up. Zach may still be awake. I don't know. Everybody's got the link. Thesis is in the chat. We shall see what we shall see. I don't foresee this being one of those 5-minute shows where I play the end credits and sign out, but never can tell. On the home front, it's been raining too much for me to get any work done outside. Plus, I can't go and get lumber to do any of the inside jobs that I need to get done because it would get soaking wet in the rain trying to get it back to the house. There are a few things that I can go ahead and get out of the way to make it easier, but we'll just see what happens. I'm hoping for the best and preparing for the worst. I got my first Social Security check ever in my life this week. So evidently I did that paperwork right. I should get my second pension check next week. And between the two, Lindsay and I have enough money to keep the lights on and buy groceries. So we're doing good. It's actually a little bit more than what I would normally bring home after taxes from the factory. I'm impressed. I thought I was going to have to go back and redo the pension disbursement paperwork again and get a little bit more, but turns out no, I don't. And Mr. R. Sterling Esquire is in the audience, and yeah, groceries and lights will. Believe me, I have lived without one or the other, but never both at the same time. Mm. Uh, okay, that'll help the arthritis pain a little bit. Believe me, at my age, I'm spending more money on ibuprofen than I am steaks, mostly because I don't buy steaks that often. Not that I don't like them. It's just not one of those things. Lindsay, my wife, cooked stuff for burritos last night, and we still got ample leftovers for that. Um, I had one, and she had done a special Spanish rice, which went real good with the burritos, and I had a burrito and rice tonight as well. Believe me, I am well. I've got the munchies, so I've been eating cheese and peanut butter crackers, but I don't really need food. That's why I'm just, and didn't open a bag of potato chips or something. Just a little pack of cheesy biscuits with peanut butter for my uh, British friends that'll know exactly what that is. But, oh, we had a great time on Stupid O'Clock. Zach showed up. We talked about rockets for a while. Um, John and I had several discussions about other things. Evidently, a um, a helicopter without any actual air-to-air defenses managed to shoot down a not a helicopter, a jet plane. Is a electromagnetic uh, weapons plane that does jamming and all this other stuff. It actually happened to have a radar detecting missile aboard for shooting ground-based radar systems, and they got it locked on to the helicopter's radio and fired it off and actually shot down the Houthi rebel helicopter, um, which is impressive. Um, Boy, when we make weapons, we make them multi-purpose. I mean, the Swiss Army knife ain't got nothing on us. Um, give it a give it a target and let it go. It'll go. Uh, Evidently, France is giving Mirage jets to the Ukraine, which the Mirage model that they are letting them have is not a slouch. I would I'd say it's a fairly impressive fighter plane. Uh, there's all kinds of things. I think John actually mentioned why the F-16s are not uh, going into Ukraine to land yet because we haven't built them a safe airstrip to land at, and the U.S. government is pretty sure that Russia is saving up some drones and missiles for just such an occurrence. So land some F-16s and start refueling them. The Russians blow them all up. There goes all of those crews and the cost of that particular expedition uh, when they can be based someplace safer and just fly in, do what they need to do, and fly out. Um, uh, Believe me, the sooner that NATO gets involved in this and starts beefing up reinforcements for Ukraine, the better off we're going to be. Russia's either going to have to decide that they've spent entirely too much money and wasted entirely too many resources, or everything turns into a dystopian novel that I don't want to write. And it won't be Mad Max because there's not going to be that many people left. What else? I don't pay much attention to politics or anything else, so I can't tell you anything about that. Uh, the biggest effect this election year is going to have on me is the stock market's going to be a roller coaster, and um, some of my retirement investments are going to lose money, and some of them are going to gain money, but slowly. And eventually, about the time of the next election, things probably, the stock market will finally be leveled out and back to normal just in time to get back on the roller coaster for another e-ticket ride. It happens every election year. The stock market goes absolutely crazy. Um, don't know why. Have no idea. Um, in the long term, everything works out. It always does. I mean, things balance back out. Uh, either there's some long term plunge, or it just kind of roller coasters and starts going back up. Um, I don't believe the multinational, multi-billion dollar corporations are going to let too much of a disaster happen anywhere because where's their golden parachute going to come from if everything is dust and sand and hot wind and nobody to lord it over? Don't know. Let's see. The let's see. Yes, it's only the 6th. So the new issue of Aphelion went live this previous Sunday evening with new stories by friends of ours, Thesis and Foxy. And Thesis has already submitted another story. I don't know if it will wind up being in July or August. There has been what I'm guessing is another month's worth of stuff submitted during um, April and May. I got to get to it. I got to download all of those. I started downloading some for July, but I haven't finished with that yet. It's not a huge rush. I've got uh, 3, 4. Yeah, I've got about 4 more weeks before I have to worry about deadline time. I would like to get it done probably by Wednesday, the 19th of this month. I'd like to have everything downloaded and gone through to edit and ready to put in the web page code and everything like that, ready to upload, and then do the short story links page that I do, and then um, the very last day or two before, I will write my editorial because I like to wait till the last minute on that just in case there's something topical that comes up that I really want to bring up in an editorial. So, yeah, Joe Dog McKeel solo. Well, do you see anybody else? No. Richie's supposed to be here. Dawn might pop in. It depends on whether or not she's got her laptop. Ted wanted to go to bed because she had confused the times for the Thursday night shows and the Saturday night shows and was a little bit late coming in. And here's Joe. Yeah, well, I mean,
I just can't leave you there by yourself.
well, I was running out of monologue, so thank you for showing up.
Yeah. I'm just, had a print failure, so I'm trying something different. So I was headed to bed and things went south. So I'm on my third try.
And this is the new printer.
Yeah.
And
It's
you already had to repair the print head, what,
once.
once?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's the file itself.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying cheats around it, and if it don't work, oh well. You'll never know about it.
Do you have any ability to edit those patterns, or is it something you haven't learned how to write, or it's just
I haven't learned how to write it yet.
okay?
So I don't know if it's STL or the filament itself.
Hmm.
So I'm printing it in a different filament.
Well, it's an experiment worth trying. I mean, if it works, then you know the other filament is
Is
not
shit.
suitable for long projects.
Yeah.
Um Richie seems to be catching on to the 3D print stuff real well. He showed
Yeah.
us off a little one that he did
Yeah,
for a
he's doing what they call resin printing,
mhm.
and that stuff just scares me. There's too many toxic chemicals.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's why it looks like an aquarium.
Yeah. And you know me, I got to I may get crazy and may want to taste it sometime. So
Don't make them look like uh, White Castle. Uh,
yeah. Uh, filament's a little more chewy than uh the resin.
oh, okay.
I do know that the filament string is a cat's favorite toy.
Anything string shaped is a cat's favorite toy,
It's
especially if it's something you don't want them to play with.
yeah. I mean, I'll look over and the cat's shoulders deep in the scrap box, coming out with just a wad of filament in its mouth, just hacky.
When Lindsay is trying to knit, you would think that she'd just poured a packet of catnip all over the yarn because every cat in the house is kind of just trying to play with the yarn ball in the yarn bowl.
Well, my cats are weird. I give them catnip, they roll in it, they love on it, and then they go to sleep. So they
That's
get
not weird.
catnip
That's
at bed,
normal.
and they
That's
get
not weird.
catnip.
That's normal. Uh,
Yeah, I
what's
just
weird is the ones that gets the zoomies for more than 5 minutes.
that's Carl's cats that get all that.
Mm, yeah.
So I
Uh,
see Thesis is joined in there.
yep.
Who is Atomic Snack Bar?
That's Rob Sterling.
Rod Sterling. I thought he. Okay, I'm not going to question.
R. Sterling Esquire. God, I may be saying it wrong.
Hmm.
He Atomic Snack Bar is his YouTube channel.
Oh,
He
okay.
knows uh, sci-fi movies the way Skunk knows horror movies.
Ah, okay.
Yeah. And Matthew just popped in. No, I don't roll around in catnip. No. There wasn't even one time in college, not even in
Well,
band camp.
Atomic Snap Bar, since you said he knows the sci-fi movies, what have you seen the movie Spaceship XM?
I'm sure he has.
I just want to see what his answer is, and then I'm gonna tell him to go look at something.
I think the title is actually Rocket Ship XM, but
Yeah, Rocket Ship XM. Okay, yeah. Yeah, it well, I showed it to you. It sort of blew up. You we know what the designer was looking at.
yeah.
Now if he could just perfect that capsule inside, that would be freaking awesome.
Well, we know what another designer been looking at too. Um, let's see, what was another one? The same sort of thing. Was it Tommy Jones Space Ranger or um,
Commander Cody.
no? I've been watching those lately. Um, I've been watching those lately. There were actually two Commando Cody movies. One of them is a little bit weird. They decided to turn him into a comic book superhero with a mask and everything. Um, let's see, what was another one? Tom Corbett Space Cadet, which was based on uh, some Robert Heinlein stories, basically. Loosely based, but still.
Now, could you imagine um, if they took like those 50 sci-fi movies, kept the ships looking the same, but with the CGI and all that? How awesome that would look.
It looked like when Starship doesn't blow up.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. There was a couple of things that I saw occasionally as a kid on TV and never found out what they were because I was visiting somebody else's house and I didn't get to choose the channel or anything, uh, and then found them later on in some of these um, 50s era made for TV things
Yeah.
or episodic serials, both.
Yeah. Atomic Snack Bar says CGI and awesome. I know those words, but not in that order. Well, first and foremost, you don't hire the Hollywood CGI guys. You get these guys that do the CGI stuff for SpaceX and all that on Twitter and YouTube. Actually, somebody did a CGI version of one of the Starship launches. It was so convincing. Elon posted a screen cap from it, thinking it was his company's video.
That,
Yeah,
yeah.
and then everybody goes, Elon, that's CGI. That's not SpaceX. Oops, and he pulled it down.
The Last Starfighter is one of my favorite 80s sci-fi movies. Yes,
And
and
there has been talk of a continuation sequel of basically the the guy and his girlfriend end up getting married, having kids, and the kids leading the new starfighters.
That has possibilities.
Hey, work for next gen.
Yeah, which still took a whole year before it found its foot.
Yeah. Well,
Uh,
Riker had to grow the beard.
Yeah,
Once they let Jonathan Frakes grow his beard back, they were in the groove.
I was thinking more of the scripts. I mean, the first year, every other script actually felt like classic Trek, but with a good budget.
It was the Star Trek Continues.
Mm.
Roddenberry. He just recycled the
Oh, the phase two.
phase two. That's what it's called. A lot of that encounter at Farpoint was phase two.
But then when they finally hit the second season, I think they had the writers' room. Everybody knew what they were doing. Finally, everything gelled, and they started working together as a team.
And the cast started working together. And
Hmm. Now, one thing I always admired about classic Trek was they were not afraid to hire big name sci-fi writers to do a script for them.
oh, did you see that I posted about Ricardo Montalban? That after his stint doing the Wrath of Khan, took him more than 20 years to get anything in Hollywood
That wasn't sci-fi or anything
or
at all.
anything at all. They were discriminating against him. You know, they don't like hiring ex-cons.
You bastard.
Do what?
You heard me.
No, I didn't. That's why I said what.
I said, you bastard.
Led you by the hand into that one, didn't I?
Yeah, really. Just don't throw me in that briar patch again. Uh,
Oh.
oh, Lord.
But yeah, Thesis says they're making a lot of sequels to the 80s movies lately. Yeah, and from what I'm hearing, Beetlejuice is phenomenal.
I have seen somebody reviewing a possible trailer for that, and she was just over the moon about it. And I'm going, let's wait and see.
Well, you know, I told you I watched the new Flash movie,
Yeah,
and that Michael Keaton came back as Batman. Of course, that wasn't, the spoiler. I'm going to tell you, of course, it ended the possibility of, The Dark Knight,
mm-hmm.
of him playing Bruce Wayne. In that universe.
Yeah.
But yeah, the punchline at the end of that movie had me in the floor rolling. You've got to watch it.
I will. Watching Beetlejuice 2 as soon as I can. Watch the Highlander reboot if it ever gets made. I don't remember if that one suffered from the uh, even good, odd numbers bad syndrome, or if it was just, let's just skip the sequels till we get to the TV series and pick and choose the good ones from that. I don't know.
Well, hey, Freddie Mercury's not around anymore. You will not have a good soundtrack. Unless maybe if you did it, Dan.
Oh God, they better get in touch with me quick. Mike Jimmy's going to be through with Life on Korra, and I'm not going to have time to do another soundtrack at the same time. Last Man Standing reboot remake. We do that every week, twice a week.
Oh. Uh-oh. We're in trouble.
Hello, Nick. How you doing?
Hey.
Yeah, I was sitting here by myself, and Joe Dog decided that I was running out of monologue and graciously consented to join me.
But Dan, I will give you a hint of what the secret project is. It is for this. You almost act like you know what that is.
I know one thing that it looks like that it doesn't look enough like.
What?
I also think that might be a decent display stand for your helmet, but it doesn't look large enough.
No. What do you think it could be?
Well, it's not the Quinn Martin production Invader's Flying Saucer, which it vaguely resembles.
No. It's been around for a lot longer than that.
Here's Richie. Well, it could be the top hat for Madison J. Frog.
No, not a top hat.
You got me on this.
Okay, good.
I mean, it'd make one a hell of a foosball pedal, but...
Oh, yeah. Couldn't miss with that sucker.
Suppository for gorilla?
Oh.
I'll give you a hint of what goes on top of it.
That's not.
Oh, is that docking piece for Super Heavy, that connector ring?
No.
Okay.
It's gold. What would go on top of that gold?
Well, it's certainly not any of my credit cards. Have not seen Godzilla -1 yet, Matthew. No, the flying saucers from Plan 9 were much wider and much not quite anywhere near as tall.
Yeah, well, there is a sword involved.
Don't nod your head. I still don't know. Oh my God, Nick got it.
No comment.
Yep, Nick got it. Here, you're never going to earn one, so you're just going to 3D print your own.
Damn straight.
To go back to the Highlander for a second, because I heard you guys talking about that as I was on my way in. Highlander, the first two attempts at a sequel, me and my friends used to like to joke, Highlander, there should have only been one. But once you hit the series, and then the first couple of movies off of the series were good, and then started getting really freaking weird again.
Yeah, that pretty much was my opinion. I didn't like either of the two sequel movies. The series I kind of enjoyed. I was working swing shift at the time, so I didn't get to see all the episodes in order. But
The third movie wouldn't have been bad if the Kurgan and Connor hadn't been the last two. And then if, you know, number two hadn't done its weird shit. I mean, really weird
Bringing
shit.
back Sean Connery.
No, not even that. It's now that they're aliens from the future and or just it got really freaking weird, and not even the Renegade cut could save that thing. Although the Renegade cut tries like hell.
I found a continuity error a huge continuity error in one. When the bad guy ripped the roof off the car in the alley and the old couple.
Yeah.
That was a 72 Chevelle four-door. When he busts out of the alley and swings around the corner, it's a two-door Dodge Dart.
Somewhere around here, I might still have my copy of the original script. And the original script was really, really weird.
Interesting story about why the sequel's up. Well, please tell us.
There can only be one.
Cyndi Lauper was right.
About which thing?
Money changes everything.
About She-Bop? About girls just want to have fun?
No, money changes everything. Or was that not Cyndi Lauper?
If you're lost, I'll be there to pick you up time after time. Captain Lou is her dad, or Captain Lou is her daddy? Although if it's that second one, yeah, he deserves even more respect from me, and I respect the hell out of the man to begin with.
Okay. There he goes. That the first movie happened as is. Then you skip to the series and Endgame, where Connor gets put in Sanctuary, and the second and third movies are his hallucinations while under sedation at Sanctuary. I assume the paragraph is going to continue.
That could make everything palatable, actually. That really could.
Well, it would put the bad shit right at the tail end of everything. So, yeah.
To go back up to Atomic Snack Bar's question of if I've seen the Renegade cut of 2. I have seen the Renegade cut of 2. I might still have a VHS copy around here somewhere, even if I don't have a VHS player anymore, or that might have been part of the VHS tapes that got thrown out when everything got destroyed in the shed. But Highlander 2, Renegade, if they didn't make any or try to make any connections to the actual Highlander movie, the first one, it would have been a good sci-fi movie on its own. It would have been a really fun, really good sci-fi movie. But the thing is, what destroyed 2 for me was trying to harken it back to 1, trying to make those attachments, and it just, there's a lot of really good movies out there that are pivots on very popular themes and very popular products out there. That it's just, it would be excellent if they didn't try to make ties, like Joker. The Joker movie with Joaquin Phoenix. It is a wonderful movie. It is a beautiful movie. It is a great movie that really dives into and shows the great effects of the system. And not really great as in, oh boy, but great as in huge scale changes of the psychological system and losing your mind and mental trauma and all that. If they hadn't tried to shoehorn Batman elements into it,
Yep.
if they'd taken out all the Batman references, it should have won an Oscar. But
yeah, it looks like that I actually guessed the basis of the ending sentence there for Thesis. The drugs that you used to keep him docile in Sanctuary. Yeah.
Yeah.
And Rob is agreeing with you. It happens quite a bit. Good movies that are bad sequels, but would have been good movies on their own. Yep. Saw someone who tried to justify Highlander 2 was the better movie because Ramirez's death wasn't cool enough in the first movie. Wasn't his death off screen and just told?
His death was fade to the side, pan to the fireplace. Quite literally, I think, almost. But
Okay.
I mean, honestly, I think Ramirez's death in the first one was a lot more meaningful because he was doing it in defense of Heather.
Yeah.
And it's Ramirez has always been one of my favorite of the Immortals, because of that. He was a womanizer. He drank a lot. He didn't take things overly serious, but he had honor.
Yeah. Yeah.
Rod, I would like to pose a question to you, and I would like to chat with you offline about something. I would like to posit for your channel a top 5 movies that the sequels were better than the original.
Yeah, Rob can do that.
Good night, y'all.
That would be a challenge too. Let's see. Thesis. We shall not discuss the RoboCop. The reboot. Yes, let's not.
It wasn't bad, but again, if you could divorce it from the original,
yeah,
it was a good movie. But again, it's we get so emotionally tied to so many of our movies.
Yeah, might be in the minority. Love Ghostbusters 2.
Oh yeah,
that had lots of good moments. Thesis corrected my memory. Showed when Kurgan killed him. Okay. Mostly because of the villain. I'm guessing that was Ghostbusters 2. And Rob, oh man, angry randos would be even angrier with him than usual. Hey, that sounds like the perfect justification to do it.
But one of my favorite parts of Ghostbusters 2 is a line that I quote frequently. My wife will, when the kids were little, would ask me to put them down. So, yeah, I would run off with Venkman's, you're short, your eyes are too beady, you smell kind of funny.
Yeah, it was. It was. Why am I dripping in goo? Yeah, well, it's fashionable. All the cool kids are doing it nowadays. Be glad you
Egon,
weren't a Tide Pod kid.
did you make love to the toaster?
Ah, oh dear. Um, oh. Yeah, Rob will probably be putting out another video tomorrow night just before the green room. He usually puts them out on Friday nights, sometime around 7 o'clock my time. So,
So 6 Central, 7 Eastern, 5 Mountain, which I think is Thesis's, and then who cares about the West Coast? Kidding. I like the West Coast just fine.
yep, Friday nights at 7 Eastern. Yep, and green room doesn't start till 8 Eastern. So, yeah, Thesis speaks fluent movie quotes. Yes, so there are reasons why you and I get along so well.
My best friends and I in high school used to play the movie line game, where we would just quote a random line from a movie, and then the others had to try to figure out at least character and movie. If they can get the actor as well, bonus points.
Mm.
I've scored high on the bonus points because apparently that is where the ADD part of my brain was always really good at doing, is going, oh, Frank Wally, he was in this movie as this, he was in this movie as this, and et cetera and so on.
Mm-hmm.
We tweaked the movie line game throughout the years. So at like 14, the movie line game started like that. Then it ended up going to one person would say one line from the movie, someone else would have to go to the next line, et cetera and so on, going back and forth through the movie. And then it got to the point where we made a further tweak to it where we would go with version 2. But of course, every movie has a line that could also be used from a different movie. And then at that point, you could pivot movies, and the other person had to try to keep up.
Yep. Back when I was in college, I had a
We
couple
were
of
lonely and
friends.
did not get laid a lot. We had a lot of time on our hands.
When I was in college, I had a couple of friends that their favorite little game was they would be in uh, restaurants that were open all night, like IHOP or Waffle House or Denny's or something like that, and they would try and get thrown out for singing the Rocky Horror Picture Show soundtrack. Usually, by the time it got to Touch It, Touch It, Touch Me, they were asked to leave.
We would go to Denny's immediately after finishing cleaning up the theater after Rocky, because as the cast members, we, cleaned up the theater because, one, the owner of the theater didn't charge us for basically renting out the theater for Rocky Horror Picture Show because he was kind of one of us. So, it's, clean it up so that, we left it actually in better condition than we found it. His employees kind of sucked. But anyway, so we would immediately go to Denny's, still in costume, and see how many other people we could get kicked out of Denny's because we tipped too well.
Yes. There is
The,
something to be
the,
said for going to places where you are known to be part of a large group that tips really well.
the staff was like, no, you don't understand. They tip us better than 50% of their bill. No, we will not be asking them to leave. We can seat you on the other side, or you can hit the brakes.
Mm.
But
The sci-fi group used to do that at a pizza place, not one of the big chains, in Athens. After our weekly meeting on campus, we'd go off and have pizza, and people would sit around and make jokes and eat pizza and drink whatever beverage of their choice and uh, draw on napkins. Some of the greatest artwork I have ever seen that is really comic book worthy was by these amateur artists that were. There was a guy that was in uh, recombinant DNA and is now one of the world's leading recombinant DNA scientists that did some of the best comic book style artwork I have ever seen. But it was all on napkins with not ballpoint pens, but he had to be very careful that the napkin didn't soak up too much ink
oh
from
yeah,
sitting a fountain pen kind of thing. But yeah,
the fine line. It's
yeah.
um.
But
I've got
and
some of my artwork that was kind of the same way. It was more kind of weird abstract. I'd buy the 4 or 5 color pack and I would draw on 3x5s and napkins and whatever and just
yeah,
random weird abstract pieces and it very very soothing.
evidently I was well known for doing uh, studies in how to construct armor. Uh, it was also a lot of the people were in the SCA group, so I'd figure out all the articulation of gauntlets and elbows and uh, shoulder pauldrons and whatever. And I would just be sitting there trying to figure out the actual engineering of it. I mean, I was a drafting student, basically, interior design. So I thought in mechanical drawing.
Yeah, when I get a little bit better in Blender here, I'm going to be doing the same thing because I'm going to be attempting to do stuff like this, but try to do my own design.
I told Joe Dog that when he gets froggy and wants to learn how to edit the 3D printer uh, patterns, programs, whatever they're called, he should talk to you because you're learning that right now. So you might be able to show him what not to do.
Before he bought his 3D printer, he was asking me to take a look at the pieces for Super Heavy that he wants to do, and to see if I could scale them up so that they could be, kind of X of what they want to be. No pun intended. Um, and yeah, it's still a little beyond my skill currently. But the past few months I've been squirreling so hard because of every freaking
Everything.
thing that's going on.
Yeah.
So,
He pointed out the
uh,
fact that you and he use different sorts of printers,
yes.
but I was thinking the actual design program is probably very similar. I mean,
Well,
you could
a
probably look
slicer
at
is a
the
slicer. The slicer I use can probably be used for some FDM stuff. And I did download the slicer for the machine he was using previously, and I also have a copy of the slicer that he uses for his machine now. unless you switch slicers on me. So the slicing aspect really isn't too different, except the slicer needs to know what kind of printer you're doing it on, because there's different settings. So for mine, my 3D printer is basically a tablet that is sitting underneath a tank that has a clear piece of film underneath it, so that light from the tablet shine up into the tank, and basically the build plate comes down to the uh, the bottom of the tank there, and that tablet shines UV light up, and because the resin cures with UV light, it does a partial cure. It doesn't do a full cure, it does a partial cure. And then that will, in theory, stick to the build plate, and then the build plate raises up a little bit more, and it keeps doing that, so you'll have exposure times. Where his is kind of like a hot glue gun.
Yeah. It's
Where
laying
it's
down
an
layers
extruder.
from the top.
Exactly.
Yours starts at the bottom and builds each layer and pulls the finished layers up.
Mine's a liquid that turns into a solid. His is a solid that turns into a liquid and into a solid.
And Nick says
Not necessarily a liquid, more of a fluid, kind of like a toothpaste almost.
Yeah. Let's see. Low cost of free Nerf Blaster files. And some point need to talk about getting his printers working. And yeah, extruded plastic. That sounds like Joe Dog's.
There is a third kind out there that I don't know if it still exists or not. But at one point in time, 3D printers were also a powder and a catalyst method, where basically you had this big thing of powder, and then liquid would be squirted, and then you could do still an articulated method, because there was an individual that scanned his adjustable wrench, and his adjustable wrench was, I think, about 18 inches from the top of the jaw to the bottom of the jaw closed. And then I think it got up to almost 30 if it was fully extended by using the little.
Yeah, the thumb wheel.
Well, on his the large thumb wheel. But I haven't seen any of those, at least in the mass market. And like I said, I haven't seen any new videos of that in the past. Probably, Crow is 16, so probably 14 years or so. I think Crow is still maybe 2 at the time.
Now, the ones that made the most sense to me and would have the most utility for me were very, very industrial scale.
And the one that I was just talking about was actually used on industrial things. I don't remember what the printer was actually used for, but the guy that was making videos had a friend. He reached out to his friend. His friend's like, yeah, and then allowed him to do the scan of the wrench and make that huge ass wrench. I mean, that wrench would probably, if you leaned on it, like the casual pose that you see some people leaning on their swords, that most people who actually use swords go, don't do that, you're breaking my heart. But that would probably come Probably just above the belly button on Nick.
Well, as I was saying, the one that I saw, the printing media was concrete, and they were printing houses.
I've seen that method as well, and that would basically be on the same exact idea of the FDM extrusion method. Because with them, it's, if I recall correctly, they don't use it in quite the watered state that um, most people generally do, so that it would actually kind of stack up a little bit. But still, in that, I want to say they would only be able to do a couple of levels before it actually really had to dry a bit.
Yeah,
Although
basically
I
they
think
were
there
doing
was one
something.
that would actually go all the way around the house, and by the time it got back around, it
It
was
had,
set up enough that you could hit the next level.
yeah, and the contractors that were doing this, there were a certain number of layers, and then they would put in um, basically um, half-inch
Sometimes
square
support forms.
wire in screen in between the layers so that it would have a reinforcement layer, and it would basically until it got to a window or door opening that it hadn't reached the top of yet, it would be continuous all the way around, but it would be so big that by the time it reached a starting point for the next layer, the concrete had dried sufficiently for another layer to go back on it. It was basically um, not the consistency of toothpaste, but more the consistency of silicone caulk.
And bladed. No, I did not hear, but I did see, and actually, I have on one of my browser windows, both those stories open in tabs for me to read when I get a chance. So I saw that, and I'm like, okay, I definitely have to make sure that those are in a place that I can get to
Hmm.
quickly.
That's why I made sure that I put them up at the top of the short story list. And because they are their first stories in Aphelion, I gave them cover credit. Um, I'm the publisher. I can do that. I'm the one doing the cover art as well. So
All right, so I got you the hell opened up and spat out a hero. I owe you because your original challenge to me was the I hate to kill a man for bad manners, so I was glad when he took a shot at me, and I am working on that one. Were there any others that I owed you?
um, whatever inspires you and takes your mind off your troubles.
In fact, actually, the other day, I took my copy of those 42 hooks and I pared down to I think 10 that I am going to attempt to fit into one story.
Oh, that would be nice. And Nick Tockert is begging once again for an unfinished work.
Okay, Chicago soccer team. What about them, Nick? Nick, I felt that fuck you from here.
And Thesis has already submitted his second story, which he and I need to talk about because it made me sit there for a good 15, 20 minutes. And I was going, oh, I could add so much to this because it got me to thinking. Um, but no, I am the editor, not a co-writer, so that's not cricket. So, um, but maybe I can toss a few ideas his way, and he might decide to do a sequel to the story that he just submitted. And I think Nicholas is speaking Lesser Urdu. Um,
I think I just came a conniption. I am working on it.
um,
The way my brain works, I actually have to work on different projects depending on. I don't want to say mood because I don't want to make it sound like I have to be inspired. My mental state. Certain works that I am working on only work well when I'm in a certain mental state. Um, but since a lot of the stuff with that, I've been able to see a lot of the things I needed to fix as far as um, the antagonist to make the antagonist make more sense. So it's I'm not just screwing around. It's
oh
I am
yeah,
working on that.
yeah. When I get roadblocked on one particular story, I'll jump to another one or start something brand new. And when it stalls out, I'll jump to something else or jump back. It just depends. Um, I really, I've got half a steampunk novel I need to finish up. I've got the fantasy story I need to finish up. I actually went and outlined everything that I want to close it with. I mean, I'm right up to the big confrontation with the final boss villain, and I know exactly what it's got to do. I know which characters have to die. I know which characters are immortal and will come back, and I know exactly how to keep myself from getting burned in effigy for the one non-immortal character that when I realized they were the
That
logical choice for
must
the
take
one that had,
their final bow.
yeah, I figured out how to save them afterwards. And it's not
But
even a cheat.
Nick, I've also been going back to a lot of my files that I've been able to find and reformatting them and setting them up in a way that I can actually work on them on this wherever the hell I'm at, as well as on my PC in an easy place, so that while I'm waiting for the nurse to call me back at the doctor's office, I can write a few lines and um,
Yeah, that's
I've
the way Nick does it. I mean, when he's got minutes, he'll pick up the phone or tablet and do something.
um,
Uh,
and my tablet has standard coming with it, a standard pen for me to actually draw and write and stuff like that. So I'm actually using the handwriting feature. So part of it is also teaching this thing how to understand serial killer. Um,
see, Thesis have been working on a shifter story for close to 4 years. Nick is aware of the process, mirrors his own neurodivergent leanings, started to say learnings. Uh, Plus, yes, I'm trying to write music and finish other projects and do carpentry and plumbing and um, everything else. Literally have an eye twitch.
but I'm working on that. I am working on um, some stuff for where the wear still. Because over the course of the last couple of years, my notes kind of got scattered for that. And luckily, with the move coming up here soon, I'll probably be able to find some of that. Now, whether I know where the hell it is when I actually start putting things away in the office, when I get the office reformed over the new apartment across the complex, we don't know.
Oh, I was cleaning out the old inboxes that are over here. I've got brand new ones that I just emptied out and was absolutely ruthless with what paperwork got thrown in a trash bag, and I found about an inch thick stack of handwritten notes for stuff I've either already finished or stuff that hasn't quite gelled yet and I haven't really begun, or stuff that I'm in the middle of and now I'm going, oh, I meant to do that. Well, I'm already past that point now. Maybe I can foreshadow some of that in, but then again, depends on which direction things have gone.
Now, I've got to ask folks because we're all neurodivergent on some level in our group here. For everyone that is still with us that does do writing, whether that writing is for show ideas or shows, that their show script or public speaking for a day gig or whatever. Are you a manual writing device in hand kind of writer, a typist, or does it depend on what you're working on? Depends on which of those two methods flow best for you.
That's a good question. For me, it depends on the project.
Certain of my stories, I realized the big holdup for me, even though my ass is in chair, my hands are on keyboard, it's not clicking, it's not flowing, I can't get it out. But the second I get a manual writing device in my hand, it's like I've got 4 pages of mostly illegible because it's my handwriting, but it stuff that just stuff's flowing out. Now, granted, it's not the best prose in the world. A lot of it is completely trash, but one of the books on writing I've had since my early 20s, maybe, talked about the book was If You Can Talk, You Can Write. And basically, it's the same principle. Writing is the same principle as talking, but it's on paper. It's how much of the day are we just blathering about this, that, or the next thing, and then there's a nugget of greatness in something that we just said that we can hit that and pivot and go off and be able to turn that into something better. And that writing's the same way. You are going to write thousands of words before you get to something where you're like, with this, coming back to this, it ties everything in. It actually starts to work now. Where for 3 chapters, you're like, what the hell am I doing?
Oh, yeah. I know that feeling. Usually, if it's a story, I'll start it off with a narrative hook of some sort, and then it is just stream of consciousness after that.
Related, I keep so many notepads and notebooks and a special journal that's up in the corner that I keep forgetting to start actually journaling in. Thank you, by the way. I love it. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah.
But Yeah,
But
I
if it's
write at the computer as well. I mean, physically, manually write at the computer as well.
and then it'll just be typing. But then there'll be times when uh I didn't have a phone with note taking capability. I would carry little spiral notebooks in my hip pocket, and I would handwrite notes, and 90% of the times I could read 70% of the words. My handwriting probably greatly resembles yours, but in a foreign language. Uh,
I've got devices that have hours upon hours upon hours of recording, because that's another thing I would do is I would talk things out. Then I realized one day, I'm like, why the hell am I not recording this?
hmm
Granted, that there are a lot of times that I am repeating the same things, so it's actually starting to kick in and stuff like that. But why you know why don't I just have the voice on my phone recording while I'm talking this through, and then I can hand it to Misty and she could type it out for me, or whatever, depending on what's going on. But I just had a realization. I had a great epiphany. That I realized when sitting at my keyboard and trying to type became a chore when I tried to apply it to my fiction. Day job changed. Yeah, granted, I was typing most of the day anyway when I was a help desk tech, because we had, of course, put the information in and things of that nature and write up instructions for things. But as a trainer, part of my job is actually writing technical documentation for end users for things. And when it's something more like that, like wear the wear, I've got no problem sitting at a keyboard for wear the wear and typing and things flowing and things working, because it's that same kind of mentality that I have to do for the technical things for the day job, where writing anything dealing with the fire or any of the other 19,324 different NaNoWriMo projects that have been abandoned throughout the years. In fact, one year it was 17 between November 1st and November 10th. 17 times I pivoted my NaNoWriMo project
hmm
that year alone, because it's like, this isn't working. I got to go here.
If he just has to write his computer, sometimes good ideas are okay and throw them down in Google Docs, but actual writing has to be done at the computer. Um, One thing I found that I miss from the factory is the solitude while I was actually doing my job, where nobody was around. I could practice the dialogue for the characters out loud and figure out, oh, this combination of words is really difficult to say, but this other combination of words with the same meaning is much more like a normal conversation between several people. Let me pull that up for you, Rich. All right.
So Google has its own note thing called Keep, which is
Mhm.
wonderful and great. Now, I've got a bunch of stuff in here, like, stuff I need to pick up from Menards and the VINs for our cars and stuff like that, and things I need to remember or know. But I've got some color coding going on. When we get to the others here, come on, catch up. get down there. So anything that is this kind of darker orangey brown, stuff like that, this is usually character related stuff. The more red orange is other story related things and stuff like that. And green is gaming stuff. So as you can see, I've got a ton of notes on various things, and it's just a wonderful, quick tool if your phone actually gives you the ability to use it. And that's on my phone. That's on my tablet. You can get to it from the web, which is what I was just doing from the computer. It is my friend. But I carry a keyboard for my tablet, as well as having that magnetic pen as well, depending on which mode my brain is as far as writing goes. And Dad has absconded for the moment. So, what other weirdness can we talk about? Oh, he's back.
Gallon
but
slider, yes. No. I knew that looked complex enough for me to be able to run down the hall and come back as quickly as possible. But I was listening the entire time. I just had the microphone turned off.
Yeah, so I just color code the nodes. So I'm looking at stuff. I'm like, okay, that's stuff that deals with car. That's stuff that deals with, my medical stuff that I need to talk to the doctor with, and my medication list, which is a beautiful place to put your medication list. If so when you go to the doctor, you can just go, oh yeah, here's the 19,312 medications that I'm on. You can just scroll through and write them down at your leisure. I'm not going to try to pronounce half these because, no. If I try to pronounce these, Cthulhu's going to show up. No.
Really, and that'd be the least of your worries. Nick might be interested in this little toy that I've got. It is a mouse in pen form. Now, because my hands shake, I have to use it in its stand so that it doesn't jitter around too much. But I can go to one of my drawing programs and use this to freehand something. So it, in effect, acts like Nick's drawing tablet, but
I can actually get
without
an app
a
to
lot
turn
of
that
the
into a
functionality.
drawing monitor. My tablet into a drawing monitor.
Yeah.
I think I'm going to go with an actual drawing monitor when I finally decide to take that next leap. Oh, another cool thing while we're talking about weird and cool tech toys. There is an app that is free from Microsoft, and it is called, what the hell was it called? Microsoft something toys, I think. Skrillin. No, seriously, where is it? You killed Kenny.
Or at least knocked him out.
I know I installed it because I was playing with it. But what I can do is, instead of purchasing several smaller monitors, I can add Power Toys. That's what it is. The reason why I couldn't find it is because I was expecting the word Microsoft to be in the name. But no, Power Toys. So one of the things that Power Toys gives you the ability to do is if you have a larger monitor, so if I go into the bedroom and take the 42-inch TV that's in there that we aren't using because there's stuff that's piled in front of it, so can't really watch TV if there's stuff in front of it. But I can take that, I can set that here because it's got HDMI ends. I can actually run an HDMI from my laptop to it to make it my monitor. But what that Power Toys does is it allows me to create zones so that maybe I've got, two 30-inch monitors, cut out of there somewhere, and then, a smaller one that is only big enough for me to do, a couple of small things. So I could actually use that to create multiple monitors out of like a larger TV.
Mm.
So I was going to play with it with the TV that we have that isn't going to cost me anything to muck about with. And then if that works, see if I can find a TV that I really like that I'm going to go ahead and just use as my main monitor and stuff like that. So, so that is one nice way where you can actually, do some interesting playing around with that. So, and again, the Power Toys is completely free. And it's the only thing that I am mucking about with right now is the Fantasy Zones is the name of the toy within it. That I could split it any way that I want, so I can actually have something that is laid out portrait. So that I can actually see a document in its entirety on that monitor while I'm doing other things in the more traditional landscape that we've had for our monitors for probably almost a decade now, I think.
Yeah, I've got to hunt up a CD-ROM that has a drafting program on it that I really enjoyed, but then as computers jumped their operating system up X number of bits, it wouldn't run anymore. Not even in, hey, emulate this computer, it wouldn't do anything. And see if this thing is smart enough to go, oh, well, I can install that, but I'd have to run it as this Pentium 1 rather than what I am. But here we go. And I would be able to do a lot of the design a back porch, design improvements to the screened-in porch, design a back deck, lay out new plumbing, lay out new electrical lines, do this, do that on blueprints, basically. And it had a couple of nice features where you could tell it whether you had 16-inch wall studs or 24-inch centered wall studs, and it'd tell you how many 2x4s you needed to buy.
I wonder.
If I could look it up, I might could find it on some kind of update that didn't cost me $1 million.
Well, another thing I was wondering is, I wonder if you could. Now it would end up costing you a couple bucks in the end, but with the way that a lot of things are done with cloud computing nowadays, I was wondering, if through Amazon's cloud services or something like that, if they had something where you might be able to build it in like an old XP box on one of their servers. Now, the thing is, since this is the cloud, it will cost you for usage, but with the cloud, you really save a lot of money because it's on-demand computing. So instead of buying a machine that's going to run it, you spend X amount of money, per month. And the thing is, that's what really is going to be the big deciding point on whether you want to jump to something like that is the cost per month worth what you're doing with the machine? And the thing is, you'll get X amount of time per month to go ahead and do that. And if you're accessing that over and above that, you'll get charged by like the minute or the second or something like that. But it's extremely reasonable, at least from looking at it from my perspective. It's, you use, 28 nanoseconds worth of server time. So it's going to cost you, like $1 or something like that, And if it's like, hey, if that works, hey, it cost me $5 to redesign my back porch, but otherwise, that can be a valuable tool for something like that if you can find a way to set it up on that server so it will actually run. Now, if it's not going to run, it's pointless. You're throwing money away. It's
Yeah.
not a good idea in any way, shape, and or form.
Well, it's basically a curiosity just because of the bells and whistles on it. Like, tell it the perimeter of, say, a porch, what you're going to actually build a room on that fits within the building code, so you don't have to get a permit, which is like 12 square feet. But you could have a deck that's 30 by 50 if you wanted. But, tell you exactly how many 2x4s you needed, how many planks you needed for the decking part, the floor, the basic floor part, all this other stuff. It'd just be shortcuts so that you didn't have to just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Oop, that one's a little bit further away than it needs to be. Maybe there should be 2 there. I have been able to do blueprints in Paint, and they have been perfectly serviceable for furniture design as well as screening in the front porch, um, doing a deck. Basically, the most demanding part of that's going to be getting out there with a shovel and digging up some of the shrubbery that's right next to the wall you need to put the deck attached to.
Yes, but you can only dig up the shrubbery with a herring.
Nope.
Actually, it's cut down the mightiest tree in the forest with a herring, but
Nope.
What was the name of the drafting application you're talking about, Dan, or do you remember?
I do not remember. It might be 3D drafting or something like that, because you could also do a floor plan and then do an elevation and show the height of the walls, and then tell it to assemble a 3D representation of it and walk around through it, but like I said, this is Pentium 1 era computing. So
During the move, I might actually be able to find the computer that was supposed to be uh, the physical housing for my virtual lab.
mm,
If I find that, um, I will see about um, getting some virtual flavors of Windows because it ran on Windows, right?
yeah.
I'll see about getting some virtual flavors of Windows throughout the years and see if I can find a flavor of that works. And, worst case scenario, you know, give you the ability to log into one of the virtual machines on the virtual lab because one, it'll help me with, wanting to do networking and security shit. Uh, it'll actually, if I can get it to run, you'll be able to go back to that piece of software that you miss. I wonder.
That computer only ever ran uh 95 and 98.
Okay, 95, 98.
Yep. And I don't remember which one it was actually running at the time I found this disk, and it was in a cutout bin. It cost me damn near nothing. Um Evidently it was either superseded by something better for people in the industry, or it just didn't catch on, so it wound up in a cutout bin of software.
Yeah, worst case scenario, if you find the disk and find the application name, let me know. Shoot me
I
um,
will. I will.
a
I've got
message
to take.
messenger, and I'll see what I can do.
I got to take a bunch of these shelves down so that I can actually build one that doesn't tilt downward and threaten to throw books and speakers on the back of my head. Um, the braces that I originally put it up with are not strong enough, but I've got some that are strong enough now. They've been a tripping hazard for lo these many months, waiting on me to retire so that I can take all the books on the shelf above my head off and stack them up someplace so I could take the shelf boards down, replace the brackets with good strong brackets, um, recut the shelf boards, in which case I will have a few left for other projects, like rebuilding this desk into something that takes up half the room. Um and one of the fanciest things I intend to do is I have a little gadget here that will translate um MIDI keyboard signals to USB.
Nice.
And I will probably have to buy an up to date MIDI capable keyboard because all the ones I have are 80s and 90s era, and they've been sitting with batteries out of them and unplugged for decades now because I'm not that good a keyboard player. But what it would eventually like to do is next to my desk have a shelf with a full size piano keyboard that rotates out to where I turn my chair and I bump away and it goes into one of the music programs and create shit.
my keyboard's behind me. I keep meaning to try to relearn how to use it again and stuff like that. And Crow, God bless him. I love my job. And actually, in this case, it's nothing bad. It's so on Spotify they found something called Epic, which is basically this young individual who is tackling the Odyssey like Lin-Manuel Miranda did Hamilton.
Mm.
So it's kind of a a cheap, easy way, would not nearly as eloquent as it needs to be, but it's basically the Odyssey Hamiltonized. So it's this kind of more modern um, musical, and there's a lot of the story that hasn't made it into the songs that have made it up on Spotify, but the ones that did are the ones that they felt actually captured the moments, and there's a lot more songs that haven't made it that they wrote than the songs that actually made it. If you're comparing 1 to 1, but it's as the kids would say, it's a banger, or it's a bop, depending on what kind
Yeah.
of angle the kid's coming from. But it's haunting. It gets stuck in your head, and it's just gorgeously done. And again, this is just the music part of it. I hope this young individual, Jorge Rivera, I want to say is his name, or Jorge Rivera something. I hope this project can find the traction that Hamilton did, and I hope that he can get help getting it finished and produced, because it's still coming out. They've got I think the Troy Saga, the Ocean Saga, the Cersei Saga, Underworld, and then of course there's a lot more that needs to go into it. But I was thinking earlier today, I'm like, that's one that I really wouldn't mind, if the young gentleman actually has the sheet music and all that for sale for that. I wouldn't mind buying that and attempting to learn that. Now, granted, the way these songs operate, it is well beyond my skills when I stopped many, many, many years ago, let alone trying to pick it back up today. But it's one of those that it's the music is infectious.
I once had a music program that would let me actually use the computer and compose things in sheet music notation. So if I needed a quarter note, if it was a D or an E above high C, I could pick it, click, put it there. If I
Let's
needed
put it
chords,
exactly where you need it to be on the bar. Yeah.
yeah, if I needed chords, I'd have to figure out how to construct them. I could listen to it and go, "Oh no, that lower note needs to be half pitch lower. There's a sharp or a flat that needs to go in there." And I'd click, click, click. But the only way to actually play any of that was through basically a MIDI sequencer that came with the sound card. So it sounded like video game music.
Microsoft had one. I think it was Microsoft. Crap, I don't remember. But I mean, it was MIDI. It was back in the day, but
Yeah.
it wasn't bad for being close. I mean, you can tell it was trying to be an acoustic guitar, but it really wasn't an acoustic guitar. But it was close enough for late '80s, early '90s MIDI.
Yep. And the way things are going now, um, the synthesizer voices are a hell of a lot better.
Oh yes,
It doesn't have to sound like a sequencer.
but sadly, yeah. Well, the music programs I've seen, you're just getting the loops that I just want this much out of the loop. I want the loop to be faded on this much of it, and I want it to come in here, and
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Uh,
it's
yeah, I showed a
uh,
little bit of that in the video I did of how I use the program I use, which is
the
loops.
program I use as well. Yeah,
And basically, yeah, you get something. Oh, the first half of this is great, but then it goes up, but it goes out of key. So I have to truncate that particular measure or two measures to eliminate where it changes pitch. And then I can put the other one in there in exactly the right key, but it's going to repeat the other one just higher or lower. And um, I was using the sheet music notation thing at a time where um, marching band and concert band was still fresh in my mind. I was not that long out of high school. Sheet music notation made perfect sense to me. I could build chords if I needed to build chords. I could use triplets or um, 30-second notes or whatever I needed. Just and then play it back and um, basically when I did something that's supposed to sound like a harpsichord, it sounded like a harpsichord. When I did something that was supposed to sound like a violin, it sounded like a harpsichord. Uh, just, um, there was a limit to the uh, voices available for music synthesis that wasn't directly keyboard driven stuff. Computer driven stuff had sharper limitations. Oh God, we've only got 12 minutes left. Uh, there are a
huh.
lot of things that I have yet to play around. I've never played around with GarageBand on my iPad, even though it's installed. Um, Evidently, I can't uninstall it to make room because it's an iPad program that is protected. So,
$39.99 for um, Music Maker 24 and Music Maker 25 Premium.
Ooh, yeah. And I just,
Because I'm still using 2023 because I'm like, screw it.
I don't remember which one I've got, but I have upgraded since I bought the streaming computer. It would it was it would run on the other computer, but it was deathly slow trying to mix anything or export anything. On this computer, I have yet to try it now that I've got um, screaming banshee levels of RAM. But uh, we shall see. Um,
No, oh yeah, it does. I see it right here. Um, Yeah, they do have um the keyboard for the concert grand and a couple different flavors of piano,
Yeah,
and
and
they've got a
you
couple different voices for it. But it's still it doesn't really allow you to hit what you really want to hit. It just allows you to make another loop. So I mean, it doesn't allow you to sit there and plot out the entire song, off of that keyboard. I I wish it did. Um,
well, because I'm so used to working with loops, if I could create my own loops, I do believe I could manage it. But I'd have to concentrate on nothing but that for a while. Um, I've got several virtual instruments downloaded, keyboards, drums, all kinds of other things. If I actually sat down and learned how to do it, I could probably make my own loops for like a saxophone or flugelhorn or whatever, um, and not be restricted to the ones that are supplied in the downloads of different loops and patches and things that they provide. Um, Back when I first had Music Maker, there were a couple of songs where I used every possible loop for a certain instrument voice, and the songs were magnificent. But if I ever used that instrument voice in anything else, it would sound like I was regurgitating something I'd previously done. So yeah, being able to make your own would be a nice change. But I'm not doing this shit for a living, so
yeah,
it's not
there.
it's not as high a priority as getting more books written.
So Bladed said that he uses Audio Mass for most of his music.
Hmm.
His first program that he found when he was doing music for Zed.
Yeah, and he's done very well with it too.
Yep, I will agree.
Oh,
Okay, well, allow me to close the stuff out that you're bitching about, and you can.
yeah, yeah. Basically, my biggest nightmare in the last month, besides paperwork for retirement, has been uh, trying to get this computer upgraded because the hard drive is getting full. And I have had a partial success, as I said. There's still unused space on the new hard drive. It's just being able to move that particular sub partition to the correct partition to take advantage of the other massive amount of space, without having to make it into another um, full partition. But uh, somehow or another, I got it to work on the other computer without a nightmare. But not only do I not remember what program I used to do that, I do believe that the the ones that I have been trying have not had the option that I needed to automatically put free space where it needed to go. And I don't know what the command would be. I don't remember. It's been probably middle of last summer since I upgraded the other computer. Um, and believe me, when support for Windows 10 gets shut off completely and I This is one that's the hardware is too old to go to 11. I either have to turn the damn thing off and put it on a shelf, or turn it into a Linux box, which means everything in it will get wiped out, and I could harvest the hard drives and buy some enclosures and use them for backup external drives for this one. And I don't know what to do. I really don't. If I could remember what damn program actually made the successful clone with all the extra drive space where it needed to be. And believe me, I'm on my third version of this. Clone the original to the larger one, and I've installed new stuff to try and make this work. Trying to move the partitions, and it's just not working. And I paid money for a couple of them, and I've paid money for a couple of art programs that I don't want to have to reinstall and try and say, hey, yeah, you gave me this activation key. Why doesn't it work now? Because it was only a month ago that I installed it the first time. And here's the freaking receipt. I don't want to hear any bullshit. So, like I said, I thought I'd just clone
Was
what I
that
got
the
now.
was that the application that Sean suggested to you?
I haven't the faintest idea.
Because I remember last year, I think it was last year when you were having this issue, you had put a post on it on Facebook, and I believe, I think Sean Sullivan replied with an application to try. But, a year's gone by. I've flipped since then.
Yeah, really.
Hell, I think it was even right about this time, I think, because it was well before Hallowcon.
Yeah.
I want to say it was like March, May, somewhere in that time frame of last year. I think, or at least someone had mentioned it. I remember Sean, um, and I were two of the voices in that thread. I don't remember the other voices in the thread though.
Well, and I do believe it was a free version. It wasn't a paid version of anything. It just happened to have the option that said, "Hey, um, if we copy it exactly the way it is now, some of this stuff is going to be unavailable to you. But if we copy it this way, it'll be just fine." And the second time I did the clone on the other computer, I turned out to pick the right option to go, hey, this works, and everything was just there, and I didn't have to do any fiddly moving or allocating or whatever or merging. It just worked. So I wish I could remember what it was I did, but I don't. I have slept since then. I have killed quite a few brain cells since then. But everybody got to have a hobby. Um, they were the weak brain cells, not the strong ones. Think of it as evolution in
That's
action.
the hobbies.
All right, we're like 15 seconds away, so I'm going to go down here to the bedtime story in the outro. Thank you very much for being with me, Rich. Thank you, Joe Dog, for the time that you stepped in. My thanks go out to everybody in the comments. Really, it would have been great if you'd been able to just pop in, but making comments is just exactly fine. Thesis, Matthew, Nick. God, how could I forget Nick's name? Every time I wake up on time, he's screaming at me at 10 o'clock in the morning. That's okay. It's worth it. I can hit the mute button and then wait till he starts giving his inspirational after the screaming has died down. All right. Good night, everybody. Thank you very much. Some of you we will see in the green room tomorrow night. Some of you we will see Saturday night starting at 11 o'clock for the weekend edition of Stupid O'Clock and Last Man Standing. That will go on into the wee hours. And until then, as Chris would say, go good, guys.
Transmission overload.
System will shut down. System will shut down. System will shut down.